Being recorded.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
Think about it right now, our CBA handling, it's everything. It's a file, and there is a manual operation involved in terms of reusing that CBA file. CBA. Okay, right now it's everything is everything it's a completely it's a manual process, and even the deployment of the CBA, sometimes, as I said earlier, we have a use case, okay, just from a performance perspective and as well as a control environment perspective. We may attach that CBA along with the Docker instance itself or Docker image itself during the Docker creation, okay? So what I'm trying to say is okay, just I'm trying to say that we are going to define a pattern, how this can be included and how this can be created also. This CBA file we have created. Right now, if you try to look into that, the CBA file .zip creation is a manual process. Okay, we are trying to create a manual, at least not from UI side. Okay, UI side, we know that logic, right? So we are just zipping off the files and then we are trying to put that. Okay, but while designing, assume that I'm trying to think in a world, okay, at least not now, okay, immediately once the user is familiarized, they are more familiar about the coding, they are more familiar about the UI, and then more familiar about that, what are the components that they are trying to use. At that time, they will feel more benefit in having or working like a code mode, okay, instead of designer mode. So once they get experience, they will become, or they used to work more with the code mode, similar to like a Kubernetes. Think about like a Kubernetes, okay? Till now we don't have that UI, but once you understand the concepts of Kubernetes, how that implementation, how that reference, how the requirements work, and then how I want to define that spec metadata, okay, all the okay, then it will be more easy. Then so user will switch to designer or editor mode. So at that time, what happens, right? So we need a mechanism. Okay, at least right now, not inside the community, but inside other organizations, they are more familiar with that coding, right? So what is trying to happen is so we will mostly work on the editor in terms of creating the models and using a Kotlin DSL2 model, that entire blueprint itself, entire designer itself, in order to achieve a dynamicity, in order to achieve coding and the custom complex logics inside that modeling. Okay. So at the time, we need a mechanism to archive that. Okay, we need a mechanism to archive that. So we need some kind of a folder structure to archive that. One good example is like we already, right now, if you try to look into for the Frankfurt second iteration, we included a build for catalog. So it means like once you build that model, then it can be attached to that build, so that it can validate, you can also run a JUnit test case on that, or integration, or write a test case on that particular CBA model, okay, and then you can validate, and then you can have an auto migration also. You can have an auto migration of that CBA file. So everything is possible, actually, what I'm trying to say. So at that time, we need some way to define that, how this can be archived, okay? So what are the components that I want to include? Right now, we are excluding all the jar files, okay? So we are not defining all the jar files inside that. But sometimes what we may need extra components to include, extra models to include, extra artifacts to download from external repository, and then it should be part of the CBA file, okay? So it is not like a simple CBA file. Later point of time, it needs to have some intelligence to access, to deploy, to download, okay, to generate all those structures that we need. So that is the reason we need some build mechanism and artifact management on a particular CBA file. So that is the reason we have introduced one more folder called deployment. Let me say, distribution. Okay. Sorry for the naming convention, deployment. It's called distribution, actually. Okay. So we have defined a folder called distribution. So inside that, we are trying to tell that a distribution. So in that distribution, I am trying to say that what are the folders to include, what are the folders not to include, and then along with that, I have a POM file. Okay, it's a build file also I have it. So it means like, okay, in that build file, you can orchestrate okay, what all the components to be included and what all the components it has to exclude artifacts. You can download the artifacts externally, okay, and then you can have a proper management, okay, so that I can take this CBA and work in editor mode so that I can get the full functionality of scripting, content assist, editor assist completely all together. So what I'm trying to say is like, if I want to work in a capability CLA, in this case, then I can just import this particular module inside the editor, and then I can go directly and modify the scripts here with the content assist and all intelligence, right? So here itself, I can modify, I can have a content assist, okay? I can have a content assist completely. So it becomes a more easy, and as well as we need a more dynamic nature of what content and what artifact management of the CBA completely, what it has to go inside this. So that is all about. So we are introducing a new folder called the distribution, okay, that it should support. So one thing is like according to UI level should support this folder distribution, okay, and not more than that. I explained the use case behind that, but the point what I'm trying to say is like we need one folder to manage or predefined folder distribution, okay, to manage the artifacts in a more dynamic way, which helps user in terms of dynamics and complex use cases, and as well as artifact handling and what has to go inside the CBA and properly distributed along with that image itself.
So I saw the distribution in POM XML. Why is it? Why is the POM XML not part of distribution?
This one, okay. POM is nothing but building, okay. It's like a dependency management, okay. And here we are referring the distribution. So it means like just it's like a clear separation, okay. So here you can put a search file, you can put a you can put any other files which is relevant to that deployment and handling of that, okay. You can manage the passwords and then you can manage that binary files, okay. So the distribution is nothing but it's like just a separation out from the POM files, okay. So why? Because POM file is a common reusable one where I can manage only the dependency, okay, what are the dependencies that I want. So in this case, I want only the CLI executor, not a netconf or not any other thing. So just for capability CLI, I only need this one. So I can manage that. If I want a resource resolution, I can add the resource resolution here. Other than that, this distribution, it's like what CBA has to go, and then this will generate a zip file. Okay, right now I don't want to create a manually the zip file from selecting all the files, and then I don't want to do that. So here itself I can manage that what file that I can go and what file not to go. Okay, so that is the reason. So this is a distribution, simple distribution. Okay, it's like just one separation. It's a coding perspective.
Okay, so the POM XML is managing the dependencies, and the distribution is managing what are all the artifacts that needs to be included?
Actually, in later point of time, if you want a dynamic capability and then source code, okay, the Git or versioning capability, okay, then definitely this will be needed. And then distribution. Suppose for an example, what's the thing is, here already we have included in a build. So it means like this particular zip already available in a Maven Central. So anybody can go to the Maven Central and then download and then work on that, okay, or extract and work on that. So this zip file and easy to distribute also, so that it can be easy to distribute. And then every versions that we are trying to manage in Maven Central now all versions that we have it in the Maven Central, okay. So later point of time, distributing to that SDC or something, just it's like including their dependency, okay. So what they can do, they can refer to our Maven Central and then just to download the zip file, and then they can attach. In that case, so we can avoid a manual distribution of a zip file from creating from local, okay, using our hardcode or handmade zip file and distributing to our SDC. So that process will be asynchronous. So what's the thing is like, if you try to implement or if you have a SDC, just mapping that Maven Central of our artifacts name or our CBA name, then we don't want to distribute that. Whatever we build and we can develop here, automatically it will be in our Maven Central. Latest will be ordered by default. It will be attached there. and then it avoids a lot of manual process of distributing our zip file from CDC to SDC.
Right. So what you're saying is that once this is published, then SDC is able to extract it and make these available as part of their catalog. But
Exactly.
the one thing I'm not clear is that POM XML. This test blueprint is a folder, right? That contains multiple CBAs.
Yep.
Okay. And each CBA has its own POM XML file.
Exactly. Each one should have it.
Each CBA also has a distribution?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. All right. And the distribution itself, can you go back to distribution? Okay, this is the distribution. Is this auto-generated, this file, or is this manually created?
It's a manually created. It's like a copy paste. Right now, it's like a copy paste. Okay, so during our starter package creation itself, it comes like a default one. You can also manage it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, say for an example, others. I don't have others folder. Okay, then I want to skip that. Okay, so I can delete that others and plans. Okay, so by default, these are all the information. Suppose for an example, I want to include a certain jar files. Okay, inside this case. So in that case, you can include the jar files also. Okay, right now we are excluding that jar file. So it means like by default, it's a template. Okay, if you want to manage or if you want to customize that specific to the use case, you can also customize that.
Okay, once you distribute this, okay, once you publish this, okay, into the blueprint processor, what happens? Do we?
No. Right now, we are defining one end of that implementation. So it means like we are making all the CBA files available in a Maven Central. That is the point we are trying to make right now. Okay. So right now, I have implemented 1D in CBA and capability CLD and resource audit. Okay. But this is a generic use case for inside this organization to keep track of that all the versions, okay, and keep track of our versions and distribute in a uniform manner, and it should distribute in a uniform manner, okay. So what the thing is, later point of time, so this distribution and the POM will be part of all the CBA, okay. So here also it will come. That CBA distribution will come. Here also its POM will come, okay. Here also we will have that. Okay, distribution.
Right. My only question is once we include this distribution, the main thing that it's achieving is including publishing to the Maven so that it can become available later on for reuse and version control. Is that what it's achieving?
Yeah, exactly. Version control, easy distribution. So in that case, it avoids the manual creation of a zip file and a manual export of the zip file to other systems.
Okay, so when we do downloads, do we now download from Maven Central itself and no longer download from or do we, you know how the UI can download the CBAs?
Yeah, right now that is a manual process UI, but in automated world, right? So during the designer, I understand that. But for other environments, how you will do that, right?
Okay. So, Ahmed, do you have any questions here? So it looks like there's two things that Brinda's asking us to add. One is a distribution folder where he manages all the artifacts that needs to be included, and the other one is a POM XML file where we have all the dependency management.
Exactly. According to UI, there is no need of any extra implementation. One thing is like it should allow a distribution folder creation, and as well as it should create a POM file and manage that inside that. Okay, so it should, and that distribution name, like it's a predefined or pre-populated definition or environment plans like that, so that nobody can't reuse for other purpose, or nobody should not create that folder for other purpose.
Okay.
No implementation needed from UI side. That's the point. Just to explain that, okay, this is the concept for.
Okay. So if it's just an action from the UI, and it will be created.
No action. I believe no action.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's.
Here you got the point right here.
I think I am a little bit clear. One thing I would recommend is this distribution topic, if we can discuss it with Sebastian as well, and maybe somebody from Ericsson, so they understand it, and if they have questions, they can also bring it up.
Exactly, exactly. We can
Okay,
fix it a
because
community, and then so that we can include it in all CBA files, so that it won't be a manual distribution part.
yes, 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 exactly. Let's discuss that point. All right, very good. So we have 5 minutes left. So let me stop this. Ahmed,
Yeah, yeah, you can stop that recording. Yeah. One more point I wanted to discuss, I thought.